Welcome to another SKTLs volunteers call. SKTLs is the SKTL is the symbol on crypto exchanges. It is the one and only space debris cleaning cryptocurrency. It is one of two cryptos in the entire planet that are not securities by any definition because there were no founder tokens for the Bitcoin and there were no founder tokens for the SKTL. So we, along with the Bitcoin, not we, but the SKTL token, along with the Bitcoin is it. Hey, Bryce, will you throw this link in the Trading with Cody chat room real quick? See if any of those people would like to join in. And we are here as always, just about always, most every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern when the markets close. We get on here and catch each other up on space and crypto industry news. I was just pointing out my lovely SKTLs hat. I also have a SKTLs pillow that the American Badass made and sent me. You can also see my Millennium Falcon, which is right in front of my bevel head Ben Bernanke. So, let's talk crypto real quick. I mean, last week, if you tuned in, I mentioned that I thought the entire crypto world was crashing and that at that point, what had been an ongoing crypto bubble was popping in front of our eyes and that every meme coin would be down 99% or more in the next year. We're about 30 to 50% of that 99% done. It's been 7 days, but I think there's a lot more damage and pain and fear and wiping out to be done. Hey, Bryce, why don't you go buy a couple hundred DoorDash or something? It's down 13% after hours. We've got puts. Yeah. At any rate, we think there's...
I'm going to look at the numbers real quick.
Yeah. Look, the idea is that crypto itself has value. That's why we created the SKTLs cryptocurrency, is because the concept, at least for SKTLs, is that we can use greed, people wanting to get wealthy through cryptocurrency, to actually do a good for society, cleaning up space debris. There is no economic incentive to clean up space debris. But if we create a token that we award to space debris cleaning companies, they could use the money that they receive to help do that, to help fund their business, to pay one of their interns or something. I mean, we're not sitting here at this moment going to be awarding millions of dollars, but last year we did award, what was it, about $120,000, I think. This year it's probably going to be about $60,000 or $70,000. It's not chump change. It pays some bills. Keep the lights on. So that's the story of the SKTL Space Crypto. Thank you guys for being a part of it. Now let's talk crypto news. Cryptos are crashing. Bitcoin's crashing. I think I mentioned last week I thought Bitcoin could see 55,000. We got to 56,000 today. It's bounced a little intraday, and we're probably back to 56,000 since the Fed meeting, I think. 'Tis true? Anybody? What is it at?
57,220.
Weak. I want 55 handle. Nah, look, I did actually buy a little bit of Bitcoin for the hedge fund today. We are still have some puts on the Bitcoin miners. So net, we're probably pretty much have been net short crypto exposure for the last month. But start opening up, reducing that crypto exposure, sold some of those puts today. All right. Any other space debris? I mean, crypto news you want to hit on? And then let's talk some space news. I always like to hear Dan talk about whatever's going on in the space industry. It's like one of the highlights of my week is getting on here and listening to Dan pontificate and analyze the space world. But before we go, American Badass or Bryce, anything on the crypto world we need to discuss? The dog with hat tokens are crashing, and the racist coins have been even worse.
So there.
Yeah.
Nope. None for me. I think just holding tight and buying here and there a little bit is probably the most prudent option. Buying Bitcoin.
I was about to
None of
ask,
the other
anything
garbage.
besides Bitcoin in your portfolio, American Badass?
No, I've gotten rid of all that other junk. And
Bryce, do you still have some Ethereum?
No, I don't.
I still have the $20 of Ethereum you gave me for Christmas 5 years ago when it was at 4,000.
That's funny.
So it's like $12 of Ethereum somewhere in the Coinbase wallet. Thank you. I'm going to send my kids to college with that sucker.
Yeah.
No. All right, Dano, space news. We got a merger this week.
That's a big one.
We knew that was going to happen, but
Yeah,
Intelsat was bought by SES for $3.1 billion, I believe.
That's the big one. I mean, it was supposed to happen last summer, and the deal fell apart, and that's believed to be the reason the CEO of SES exited the building at that point. The new CEO has come in. It appears that the deal never really died, that there were still ongoing conversations, and they were hopeful that it would happen. Now with the new CEO, this is a massive deal. You've got two of the biggest that are now going to be the big beast.
SES's primary business. Let's clarify something for people.
It's all satellite communications.
Is satellite communications that go around in mid-Earth orbit. What do they have? Like 8 or 10?
Well, they've got Intelsat and SES together have several hundred satellites. Okay. In both everything from geostationary to MEO to Middle Earth, and not so much really in LEO. They tend to have the big communication satellites. They have LEO operations as well, but these two companies do a lot of the heavy corporate commercial servicing. For example, SES provides all the connectivity and services for cruise ships and tankers and other large types of customers, government as well as commercial, who have these massive needs. They have a deal with John Deere where all of the tractors are all chipped and connected by satellite so that farmers can track, John Deere can track, do maintenance, ultimate IoT. Well, Telesat or Intelsat has the same relationship with another major farm equipment manufacturer. They also do things for the marine and shipping markets. So there's a lot of common ground, but this allows them to compete, and they're going to compete specifically and defend themselves against Starlink and Kuiper. And so you're going to see some interesting shifts where the 900-pound gorillas are now going to turn around and face off against the upstarts, because they're both using their services to come to the middle. So everybody's going to try to provide everything to everyone. And this is where you're going to start to see some consolidation. But it's great for us because SES is the company that we have our new contract with to develop antennas for the digital divide, which we talked, a week ago, we heard that the new O3b mPOWER constellation is officially turned on, and that's going to now grow to 11 satellites from 6, and so that's going to be one of our big opportunities for free fall here very shortly, along with another one, which is Telesat. So, but SES, this is a deal that had to get done. It's good that it did. It leaves other players like Viasat kind of on the sidelines now, wondering what they need to do. It's that old consolidation issue. Somebody goes out and makes a big acquisition. Everybody else scrambles to do one too. And the last one usually is the worst deal, is you got two slow, less than optimal players getting engaged. It's usually not a good thing.
Dan, are there more Do you expect then within the next 6 months to a year there will be more consolidation amongst the legacy satellite communications providers? Contact Telecom looks like it's going bankrupt now, right?
Well, there are 30 some odd companies that are considered to be satellite communications companies, and albeit of a smaller size, but um, there's going to be some. I would have said 6 months ago this would have been the only deal that's obvious that still needs to get done. Well, now we'll see. There's a lot of boardrooms buzzing right now talking about what are we going to do? How do we respond? Gee, maybe we should dust off that plan to go after XYZ. So, that always happens. Anytime there's an acquisition, the rest of the industry jumps in the boardroom and starts wringing their hands. So, but I think part of what's going to mitigate some of that consolidation may be these new markets exploding open that are going to require a lot of new constellations and fleets of satellites that may cause some players to change direction and go into a different segment. There's going to be millions of antennas are going to be deployed. Service like we've never seen before is going to be pushed all over the planet. And so this is just one piece of a very long chain that's called the new space economy. That's all it is. So
the new space economy eventually will include people going to orbit
right.
and visiting the moon and actually doing amazingly cool, different new stuff.
Yeah, tourism will be a big part of it.
I think I've seen this before, but I saw on Twitter the other day a link and I clicked on it to the SpaceX website where you can actually sign up to go to orbit.
Oh, sure. They're building a list that, they'll mine that list for the rest of eternity to promote things. I mean, what you have is a captive list of people who would love to go, period, anywhere off the planet. And, when Elon gets around to, okay, we're going to be going to Mars, he'll have that list and many others to look at, because he's just got to find people with money. And I would venture to guess early on, it may not be just people with money, but people who just want to go with a free ride, because the risk is going to be such that I think the people that are going to want to go or be willing to go may not necessarily be the ones that you'd like.
Oh, Dan, I'll take the other side of that. There's too many rich people who want to go.
Yeah, we'll see.
So look, you guys see this here? I'm showing you, like, you can
how many want to
go. What's cool is you get your own 3D printed, customized helmet and a customized SpaceX suit. I would sign up just to get the suit.
But those aren't pressurized. You can't use those anywhere in space. Those are just costumes, because those spacecraft are never depressurized. So those things don't work in a vacuum.
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
So when you're those will not be those suits that the Axiom designed actually pressurized suits to wear on the moon. Then is that right?
These are just little uniforms because they had to give these people sitting in this cool new spacecraft something cool to wear. But that hatch was never opened. They're never pressurized and on oxygen, if you will. I mean, it's custom. It's a uniform. So
that is funny.
So
someday
yeah, the real suits are going to look like spacesuits. Trust me, they're not going to be, kind of what.
They're not going to be form fitting. There's going to need to be a little extra room in there.
Yeah, honestly,
the reality is they didn't need a helmet. They could have just made a suit, just like a uniform on Star Trek, for God's sakes. They didn't need a helmet to protect.
This looks actually sort of like a stormtrooper from Star Wars, which is cool in its own right. I wouldn't mind walking around in an actual stormtrooper uniform.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want anybody thinking I'm part of the Empire.
They were probably made out of pretty much the same stuff too. So, no, this, a lot of this of what's going to be, the people with money that want to go. Think back to Blue Origin when it started to fly. All these people wanted to go. Not many of them were willing to be on the first flight. So it's like, I'm going, and it'll be the second or third.
See, I think that's insane. If I was going to go, I'd want to be the first.
Yes, I agree. But then you're sitting there and you're thinking, geez, I've got, $5 billion sitting in the bank, and I'm sitting here and I'm going, okay, how much risk do I want to really take? And that happens. I've talked to a number of people that went and just said, I wanted to go first. And I said, I want to make sure this thing works, because they were getting heat
And
from
if
other
you could
people in their
go-
orbit about
If,
that.
if you could sign up and go next year, would you do it?
Yeah, sure I would. Oh, I would.
Bryce? Would you
No.
go orbit next year on a Falcon 9?
No.
You scared?
What?
Are you scared, or why not?
I just don't have that desire.
Really?
No.
I never met anybody who didn't want to go to space.
Oh, there's a lot of them. Yep.
How about you, American Badass? You're all about it.
Count me in.
Yeah, man, that sounds amazing. I would love to just
I'm
go
gonna
up
need
there
some
and have a
sponsors.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Start a
What's that?
GoFundMe for my
Yeah.
That's right.
cost of my
Actually,
ticket. But
I bet you could do it. I bet you could start a GoFundMe page and market it and tell people even on this call, and you're going to get, I don't know, Dan, the SpaceX doesn't have a price on there. They're just like, sign up, da-da-da. How much do you think it'll cost in 2 or 3 years to go up on a Dragon with SpaceX and go dock at a International Space Station
it'll
or
be a
some
lot.
other station?
It'll be a lot. It'll just be
$1 million?
whatever Blue Origin charges. It'll be $5 less to go up. I mean, this is going to happen.
But is Blue Origin even going to get you to orbit in 2 years?
Well, we don't
We're
know
still
that.
waiting for that.
We don't know if Boeing is going to get anybody anywhere in 2 years. So, as well. So, but no, I think, there are a lot of people who would go. And I think when push comes to shove, more people will put their name on a list that actually want to write a check and do it. So, we'll see what happens. I hope people go. And yes, there's going to be risk, and we're going to have accidents, and people are going to die. I mean, it's just the way it is. It's going to happen. There hasn't been any transportation, exploration, or any other mode of getting from point A to point B that hasn't had serious catastrophic consequences early in its existence. So,
How many people have been to space, Dan, total?
oh, I don't know the number anymore.
200 or 300?
Probably, yeah, too many, and it should be split into two lists. But yeah,
Okay. Yeah, right. How many people have actually been above the Kármán line?
Yeah.
50?
yeah. I mean, the notion of who's experienced near weightlessness is one question, and then who has been in orbit, to me, is the real crossing of that line, is to be in orbit. Frankly, to me, a 10-minute ride would be the worst tease in the world.
That seems. I was sort of not just disappointed, even like annoyed at the whole Blue Origin. We're going to go up, and you're going to get to feel weightlessness for 8 seconds or something, and they're not even in orbit. Like, you get to see I guess you could at least get to prove to the people in there that the Earth is not flat.
No. You get
But
all
that's
that.
about all you get. And they could still argue it's a flat disc, I guess.
It's a very expensive amusement park ride, is what it is, because you don't get the full experience. You got a little bit of the overview effect, sure, because you're up high enough and you're looking over the planet, and that's the big experience that everybody has. That's the reason you do it.
Did you watch? I didn't hear it, or I've never actually heard a Joe Rogan podcast in my life, but he had some major lunar doubter, we'd never been to the moon doubter guy, skeptic on there last week. I bet you didn't hear it, or you would have said something to me.
No, I don't really listen to him.
No, you got to listen to it, Bryce. It's up your alley. The guy, I had lots of people on Twitter being like, "See, I told you, it's a flat Earth, and we've never been in the moon."
Well, the new thing out there right now is, well, how come we live streamed it, way back when, but now, we can't live stream it now. I mean, so see, we never really went. And
Yes, Dan, you explained this before. They had a relay satellite in between the moon and Earth. Is that right?
There's a very short delay to the moon.
That's what he
This
wants us to
isn't-
believe anyway.
This isn't Mars with 8 minutes or something like 10 minutes. Okay, this is seconds, and you could tell the delay in the communications. It wasn't actual rapid fire conversation.
Well, Dan, I guess
The
this guy could have faked
conspiracy
it too.
theorists, yeah, well,
But
they know because people
wasn't-
think it was faked because now they can fake anything in their own lives they want with technology, and that's what they're all about. So they're thinking, well, that could have happened then. They just didn't give us the technology yet. But you got a bunch of people proving to themselves that they can be total fiction in their own lives, and so now it's everybody did this because I can do it, and I would do it.
And correct me if I'm wrong.
that's part of
There's
the
a guy who famously built himself his own homemade satellite receiver in his backyard and listened to the transmissions back and forth. Do you know about
Those are
that?
ham radio operators were listening to the transmissions back then. That's who heard the communications from the surface of the moon when they cut out the communications because they thought they saw something. All of those wild theories. But there was talk that Nixon had a backup plan in case the landing failed. What was going to happen? But
He had a backup plan in case the recording equipment that who was the movie director? But who was
Those
it?
the other 18 minutes. No, but I think it's interesting to see how as more time goes by, people can continue to build a theory because all they need are some people willing to agree with them. That's it. No basis in fact, nothing else other than let me take this theory and run as hard as I can with it. Stupid things like a waving flag. Oh, please.
Someday what they're going to do, they're going to create. Next up is the Flat Earth Political Party. Oh, wait, that's the Republican Democrat regime. Bad. They all believe in.
No, that's the Flathead
They
Party.
believe in unicorns. They believe Republicans are capitalists and Democrats are actually for poor people, but that's a whole other topic.
See this? If I move this, it bends. It's not wind. Okay? But there's a whole bunch of people who think there was wind on the moon because of that. So, anyway.
We have just real quick. I'm Cody Willard. That's Bryce Smith. We work for 10,000 Days Hedge Fund. American Badass is a marketing guru. Dan Gerasi, as it says there, CEO of Freefall Aerospace, and Ammo. Greg Amoretti is a space/cybersecurity veteran. I'm going to go with legend. How about that,
Okay.
Greg?
Sorry to start laughing.
If he can even figure out how to unmute his mic, we might hear from Greg.
Oh.
My browser my browser settings prevented me from accessing both mic and cam, so I had to get off and go back to the browser and reset it, everything. And of course, I'm on my phone, and it wasn't synced with my laptop.
So, cybersecurity. Let's just say he's been in the industry, veteran. Let's call it veteran, not expert. My bad. Legend. Not even going expert anymore, Ammo. If you can't get your mic to work.
There we go.
Ammo, you got any big news on the space front that we need to talk about before we talk about the awards for next month?
I think the only comment that I will make regarding space is I would say the surprising rhetoric and commentary that's come from the new leadership in Space Force and Space Systems Command around two particular topics. The first is the SSC saying, we really need to have performance and accountability from our commercial partners. And the second part to that is because we're wasting a lot of money funding organizations that don't survive and give us no prototype, but just a bunch of documents that no one has accountability toward. That's the first. And then the second commentary is the Space Force Command leadership saying, we really have to do more due diligence in determining the actual viability and veracity around things like in-orbit refueling. We're not really sure if any of this really makes sense and how big a market it will actually be for the DoD. So those are the two things that I would say are worth an additional read if anyone is interested, because it's a far cry from the way they used to talk and think, which was let's just throw money after the wind.
It's interesting. There's still a lot of money sloshing around in the space startup world, from the NASA, what is there? Probably 6 or 7 different Space Force, NASA, the engineering arm, the innovation arm, this, that, and the other. And look, like, I'm not against most of that stuff. Again, taxpayer waste is a whole other topic.
There's plenty of that, to Greg's point. I mean, we're dealing right now on an aggressive basis of getting in front of every branch of the service to show our technology, to look for support, because we're going in for a grant under Space Force, and we're getting letters of support. So we've got them from a couple of primes. We're meeting with Spacecom on Monday morning to go through it, to get their support. But what we're hearing is that all these different organizations that have been put in place to help speed up access to all these new companies' technologies are actually doing just the opposite. Surprise, surprise. They've created multiple front doors, as they're called, and they're all jammed. And now when you used to be able to go to somebody you had a relationship with in DoD and say, hey, General so-and-so in this group, would you be willing to support us in our attempt to go after a grant? We need a letter of support. Now they're all getting pushback. Everybody's saying, hey, listen, there's only so many people that can sign off on this stuff. We're swamped. We've got thousands of requests. And you know what? They're just turning around and saying, just go to the website. Just go get in line with everybody else. That's the only way it's going to work. And so suddenly nobody wants to talk. They're just sending everything. This has really lit up in the last 4 weeks because there's some changes of leadership, as Greg said, and there's some new people in charge at different places. And it's all about, they're trying to cut back and they're trying to streamline, which just means it's going to get anything done.
Yeah, because what's happened as a result, and I know, Cody, you want to get into the awards, but as a result, you've got the old guard and the old guard lobbyists and the big primes who are really old guard trying to influence the new guard and the new way of thinking and trying to put up every obstacle possible from those changes actually manifesting themselves. So it's very important because most of the space-related VCs have said today there's really only one customer in space. So the TAM is one place and it's the government. Yeah. So all of these gymnastics really affect investments in space and the success of the non-primes in the space economy.
The primes too.
Yes. But they still get their bucks.
Yeah. Bryce and I have been this week starting to go back down in the rabbit hole of space industry, the space revolution. And the thing that we're having the hardest time is the same, getting our heads wrapped around is the same as it has been, that timing. It feels like we're still 3 to 5 years early before, like the SpaceX is regularly sending random people up to space stations. I mean, maybe is Axiom still on track to have their station, the commercial space station, ready next year?
Nope.
No.
No, but in fact, they're now saying there could be a problem when in 2030, when the current space station is supposed to be retired. Everyone is concerned that there is not going to be a new alternative, and they're going to have to think of, how do we jerry-rig this for a couple of years?
Refurbish the space station.
No, it's I mean, Axiom is going to be, they're attached to it. There's a case to be made for, yeah, sure, they just let it go for a little longer. Maybe they shut down parts of it. But the reality is we could end up just like we did with Shuttle when it got canceled without a replacement. And only now there's nobody that's going to, give us a place to stay. So we're going to have to keep it open, or it's going to be a major blow to the U.S. space efforts if we go without a replacement, because the time in between will stretch. And these stations are not going to be ready. They're running into so many different issues. NASA's giving more money to the three that they gave the original contract to, like Axiom and Voyager, and so I think we're going to see a sobering dose of reality come in when it says, yeah, we could probably fly them. Maybe they're not ready to be fully, human occupied, but
they've done it once. What's the issue with getting a replacement done? Is it just the fact that they are trying to make it much different and they're having issues in development? So
it's very different.
Also, the NASA and Russian and China, how many 3 or 4 different major economy governments signed up and funded that original International Space Station?
Well, it was Europe and Russia, but the U.S. still provided a lion's share of funding. Different countries built different modules for their own use, et cetera, like Italy.
And Axiom Space is incredibly well funded, but they don't have tens of billions of dollars to throw around to make this happen.
They've got issues too. They've still got their issues too as a new company, and so I think that it's, from everything I'm hearing and talking to the people I know that are working on the stations, it's just, the big difference to your question there, Badass, was the fact that we've got a station up there now that was built in parts and pieces for a long time with a lot of launches. Now the objective is send it up, wholly built, no assembly in orbit required, fitting inside of a Starship. So a 10-meter diameter cylindrical type of a station. Those are how the segments are all being designed. And so they'll just send up one piece. And some of these are designed to have the same habitation and research volume as ISS has, only in a much more efficient vertical stack. And so it's a very different thing. We're not just plugging pieces in and hooking up the power. It's going to go up completely intact and just turn it on.
Elon's got enough money just to say, screw it, I'm going to pull some cash out of my pocket and I'm just going to put together a dev team, and 2 years from now I'll stick one inside of a Starship and go myself.
Well, it's interesting if no one's thought about it, but why hasn't SpaceX really focused on a station? Because that's not the destination. That's not where
they want to go to Mars.
That's the backyard. They have no interest in the backyard.
Right.
So
we're going to Mars.
He'll jump over that.
Bryce put together a list of the winners and/or entrants from last year's awards, and he is going to email them tonight when we hang up this call, and say, hey, you guys ought to submit again. Maybe come by and get some of them to give a 10 or 20 minute presentation again to hear how they're doing and catch up. And at some point this week, by next Wednesday, we need to have something in the queue, and we need to make the award before the next 2 weeks is out. But I think we can pull that off, and we just got to keep slowly but surely doing this and getting our community. We do need to double down on our community building efforts. American Badass, you've got to get on Twitter. You've got to start tweeting. You got a Telegram. That you said you were going to start doing that like months ago. And
did I say that?
Yeah, you did. And Bryce was going to fire you, but I was like, I stepped in. I was like, not yet, man. Don't Elon that guy.
It's not very nice, Bryce.
Yeah, he was like, I'm going to Elon American Elon. Eloning is a verb for firing people. All right, cool. That's it. Peace and love. Any questions or comments to wrap it up?
Go on social media, everyone, and LinkedIn or Twitter, and share our post where we sent out the invite. If you're on those platforms, and then anybody can submit a company. You don't have to work for that company to make a submission.
Beautiful.
Excellent.
Dan, always appreciate your pontification and analysis.
Great to see Ammo here. Great to see you.
Great to see you again, Ammo. Miss you, man. American Badass, as always. Appreciate you being here, Bryce. Appreciate you guys. Thanks. Peace and love. Let's clean up space debris and make the space safe for travel.
Stay safe, everybody.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.